Good afternoon, students. So in this video we will discuss about biogas power plant. Now when we talk of renewable energy resources, there are a number of renewable energy resources available, and these renewable energy resources could be solar energy, wind energy, ocean energy, tidal energy, geothermal energy, and so on. Now there is one very important renewable energy resource which is known as biomass, and the energy that we get from biomass is called biomass energy, or we can also call it as biogas. Now what is biomass? Biomass basically consists of a number of wastes. So biomass could be the organic waste or the food waste that we get from a household, the crop waste that we get from farmlands, the cow dung or the animal excreta, the human excreta. All these things when mixed together forms the biomass. So we will take it once again. Biomass consists of all the leftover organic matter that we get from household, which could be food waste, then the rotten crops or the waste from the farmlands also considered as biomass, the human excreta, animal excreta, cow dung, all these things comes under biomass. Now when this biomass is kept in an airtight space in the absence of oxygen, then anaerobic fermentation or anaerobic digestion takes place. Now what happens when we keep this biomass in an airtight space where no oxygen can enter? Then the microorganisms which are present inside the biomass in the absence of oxygen decompose or break down this biomass into two products, or we can say two byproducts. Now what are the byproducts of biomass? When the microorganisms break down the biomass in the absence of oxygen, then anaerobic digestion takes place and two byproducts are produced. One is your biogas, and the other byproduct is the solid left material which can be used as manures in your crop fields. Instead of the harmful fertilizers that we use in our croplands, we can use the byproduct of biogas power plant as manure. So now it is clear that biogas is the byproduct of anaerobic digestion that takes place in a biogas power plant. Now let us see what is a biogas power plant, and we will also discuss how the biogas is produced in biogas power plant. Now here biogas is practically produced as landfill gas, LFG, or digested gas. So here we can see there are two names of biogas. You can call it as LFG or digested gas. A biogas plant is the name often given to an anaerobic digester. Okay, so biogas power plant can also be called as an anaerobic digester that treats farm waste or energy crops. Now basically what happens inside a biogas power plant, an anaerobic digester, these wastes are fed, and these wastes generally include the energy crops or the biodegradable waste including sewage sludge and food waste. Now during the process of an anaerobic digestion in airtight tank, the biomass waste is transformed into biogas, and that biogas is basically methane. Now this gas can be used for cooking purposes in rural areas. You can use these gas as cooking fuel in rural areas. You can also use this gas to produce electricity, and you can also use it in many other functions as well. Now biogas power plant are basically of two types. One you can see over here is floating drum type biogas power plant, and the next one is fixed drum type biogas power plant. In today's video we will discuss about the floating drum type biogas plant, And in the next video, we will discuss how does a fixed dome type biogas power plant work. Now, in fixed drum type biogas plant, you can see the schematic diagram of floating drum type biogas plant. Okay, fixed dome type we will discuss in next video. Today we will discuss floating drum type biogas plant. So here you can see this is a floating drum type biogas plant. Now first, why we call it floating drum type? We call it floating drum type because in the center you see this biogas collector. This is basically a floating drum. This floats on the water jacket, or this floats on the gas which is present inside this airtight construction. Okay. Now generally in floating drum type biogas plant, you see that this portion in which the slurry and water is mixed, this portion is above ground. Similarly, the overflow tank is above ground. But this main chamber in which anaerobic digestion takes place, this is underground construction. And this floating drum, this portion is above the ground. Okay, that is why we call it floating drum type biogas plant. Now, how it floats? When gas is produced inside this chamber, then the pressure of gas makes this collector to rise up. And as the gas is used from this pipe, or the gas is extracted from this pipe and used for various purposes, then the gas present in this chamber goes on decreasing, and because of the weight of this collector floats downwards. So with the production of gas, it moves up, and with the utilization of gas, it moves down. That is why we call it floating drum. It keeps on floating. So what basically happened in this floating drum type biogas plant, the slurry or the biomass, which is food waste, crop waste, human excreta, animal excreta, this is all is mixed in this tank with water and sent to this chamber. This chamber is such a chamber that no oxygen can enter. Inside this chamber, when the biomass mixed with water is present, then due to the absence of oxygen, the microorganisms present in the material or the biomass starts breakdown of the biomass, which is the organic matter, into two byproducts. One is the methane gas, which is produced and it rises up, and hence the biogas collector moves up. So the gas deposits in the topmost portion, and the material which can be used as manure, that remains in the bottom portion of this underground biogas container. Okay. Now, if in case there is, when we pour the biomass and water mixture inside this chamber, in case the amount is too much, then in this overflow tank, the excess material moves out. Whenever there is condition of overflow, then the extra material will move in this overflow tank. Okay. Now this center wall is the partition wall, and this partition wall also act as a support. Now these constructions are basically made to support the pipes which are coming inside. Now when the biogas is produced, this collector moves up because the biogas is present in the top portion of this container. And as we see that this level of floating container or the floating drum rises up, we can make sure, or we can get this information that gas has been produced, and by opening this valve, this gas can be extracted from this pipe and used for other purposes. Okay. Now what purposes we can use this biogas? We can use it either to light our, say in rural areas, we can light our chulhas and cook food, so they can be, this gas can be used as fuel, or in other cases we can use this gas to produce electricity with the help of gas turbine. Now this floating drum is generally made of metal, and since it is made of metal, it is painted so that it does not has the damaging effect because of the water present inside the container. Since water is also present, so there can be problem of corrosion. So in order to remove this problem of corrosion, this is made of metal and after that it is painted. Now this floating drum can also be made by fiber, or we can use reinforced plastic to make these biogas collector, or we can also use galvanized sheets so that the problem of corrosion does not take place. So this was the simple working of a floating drum type biogas plant. In next video we will discuss about the fixed dome type biogas plants. Thank you.